Hello, I'm Dave Baring, Technical Director here at TriStar, and welcome to another Tech Talk. Today we're going to talk about plastic bearings in abrasive environments. Abrasive environments is probably the last place you'd think of putting a plastic bearing, but the fact of the matter is plastic bearings in many cases will work better than any other material you can put in there. It'll work better than bronze bushings with grease and hardened steel bushings with grease, and certainly better than rolling element bearings in certain conditions. The reason is very simple, that you put grease into a plain bearing, whether that's a metal bearing or even a plastic bearing. If you put grease in there, the more abrasive material that gets into that grease, the faster that bearing gets wiped out by what becomes a lapping compound. So when we talk to people about plain bearings in abrasive environments, we talk about totally self-lubricating materials. We don't want any grease in those environments. So for those of you that may be looking at a non-metallic plastic plain bearing for, say, a bulldozer or the undercarriage of a rail car or a piece of ag equipment where it's exposed to dirt and grit and rocks and mud and all kinds of abrasive materials, the best thing you can put in there is a plastic material with no grease, as long as the plastic is the right material. Now, most people who have used plastics in abrasive environments have probably used UHMW. That's a ultra-high molecular weight polyethylene. It's certainly the most well-known and most prominent in applications where abrasion is an issue. UHMW has the lowest wear from abrasive media of any material on the market, including steel. You can look at both the Tabor wear test and also sand slurry test, and time after time after time, it's going to be a UHMW material that works best in that environment. Now, the downside to UHMW is very simply that it's got a fairly low temperature level, operating temperature level. The exception being a material called TriStar Hot, which is a UHMW material that has the ability to operate upwards of 300 degrees Fahrenheit. So there are some options with this TriStar Hot material for abrasive environments in warmer conditions. But most abrasive environments are, like I said, outdoors, heavy equipment, applications where it's being exposed to this gritty environment all the time. So, in the UHMW group of materials, there are literally a dozen or so materials in terms of compounds. There are some that have ceramic additives. There are some that have glass beads and moly. There are some that are special lubricating media, some that have oils in them. There's all kinds of different combinations of fillers and enhancements to even UHMW. So depending on what your environment is, in terms of loads and speeds and temperatures and what the ultimate end result is that you're looking for, there are several combinations of the UHMW product line that we can help you really dial in your exact need. Now, while that's primarily an outdoor application, UHMW is also very prominent in the food and bottling industry. Very common application in that industry would be like wear strips on canning and bottling lines. You see a lot of UHMW in little sleeve bushings and rollers and even star wheels and a lot of larger devices on the packaging equipment. But there are other things in the food industry that may not be appropriate for UHMW. So there's a couple of other materials that are very suitable for the food packaging and processing equipment that have a higher operating temperature, are very acceptable in the food industry, meet the regulations, and they also have very good abrasion resistance. And one of those is Erdolite and Erdolite TX, two materials that come from Quadrant. And that's a material that you might not think of for abrasive environments, but it actually does very, very well. You may not know this, but two very abrasive food materials are pasta and milk. Try that next time you have some warm milk before bed. It's really quite abrasive, especially in a dry powder condition, and will wear out a lot of materials as a result. So Erdolite, Erdolite TX, both very good materials. There are some nylons that do well as abrasive materials, abrasive resistant materials. Again, you have to kind of pick and choose based on the parameters. Believe it or not, there are even some fill Teflons, some of the Rulons that do better than you would think in abrasive environments. But abrasion comes in so many forms that we have to be very careful about which of the materials we use. But understand up front that the selection is very limited, and most of the materials that are not, normally used in abrasive situations are going to be on the lower end as far as operating temperature. So next time you have an application, dirty, gritty, something that you know is going to abuse the heck out of that bearing surface, give us a call. We'll again walk you through the process of making the right selection. There are a lot of different things that we could put into your application, but we need again to work with you on exactly what it is you're trying to get to as an end result. So contact us through our website, go to our blog, visit us on our Ask the Expert site, and we'll be happy to sit down with you and walk you through the process, and be sure, once again, that you get the right material for that abrasive plain bearing application. Thanks for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you on another Tech Talk.